What is up, guys? This is James bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for the Monaresclub, youtube.com. I don't do Yu-Gi-Oh! Too much, but I'm trying to get back into it, ramp up the content for you guys. I'm really excited about how the format's looking right now. It's pretty fun, pretty interactive, and I found a deck I really enjoy after my baby boy ABC got just reamed by the ban list for no reason yet again. Without further ado, let me get into my new best friend here, Madolche. So, what do I like about Madolche? So, one of the best things about it is that it's really good going first. It's really good going second. So it can do both. It can play both roles. You want to go first, preferably, but you can go first and you can go second, and you can do very strong things. It has a bunch of one-card starters. It has 11 in my list, and it can play through interaction quite reasonably well as long as you open the correct pieces to do so, which is a lot of very good things for a rogue strategy to bring to the table. It also has an incredibly good grind game because all of its pieces are incredibly reusable. It puts cards back into its hand constantly. If your opponent tries to interact with you in any capacity, cards go back to your hand. And even when you're interacting with your opponent, cards are going to your hand. So your grind game is awesome, and you can OTK. You can put 8,000 damage on the board with your standard combo very, very simply. So as well as clear the opponent's board of 2 to 4 cards along the way. So it kind of does everything. It's obviously not quite in the upper echelons of the format like a Dragon Link or anything like that, but I think it's a very solid rogue pick. I've been having a ton of fun with it. The combos are really cool and not always super intuitive, so it takes a lot of practice, and it's a very malleable strategy, so you can kind of play how you like to be playing. So let's get into the deck here. So we've got the one Pudding Cess. This is kind of a soft garnet, but you have to play one to set up your plays with Pudding Cess Chocolate a la mode. Then we have all of our one-card starters. We have Petting Cessor, Mageline, Angeli, and Hootcake. These are all one-card starters. Hootcake requires you to have a monster in the graveyard to be a one-card starter, but that's not asking too much. Petting Cessor is your primary combo plan. It's what allows you to do pretty much all of the most ridiculous things the deck is capable of doing. And all of your other starters just lead into this one. Mageline is a Stratos for the archetype. Angeli can let you sack her and search your deck for a Madolche and put it into play, and then until the end of your opponent's next turn, it can't be destroyed by battle. So that's really cool. This can actually help you, live through an opponent if they try and disrupt you. If you just drop like a Hootcake out in defense mode, they can't destroy it through battle for a turn. So you can often live to see another day and try and recombo, which is really cool. Hootcake, we're only playing 2 because he is not the best to have in our hand, but we really need to have one in our deck for our combos to work. Generally the worst hands in the deck are the ones where you open with 2 Hootcakes, unfortunately, but he's an essential combo piece. He lets you remove a Madolche monster from your grave, or not, and it can be any monster. It doesn't have to be a Madolche monster, which is important. Once per turn, and then search your deck for a Madolche and special summon it. And he's a beast type, which lets you enable your Message Gelato, which when he is special summoned, you can add a Madolche spell trap from your deck to your hand. This is not once per turn. It's absolutely crazy that this card is not once per turn. This is an old card design from like 2011, 2012, whenever Madolche first came out. And this is the backbone of the deck right here. It's absolutely crazy. It's kind of crazy how strong of a suite this deck actually is allowed to play. The no once per turn on this. There's no once per turn on Tiara Misu. Glass Souffle is an awesome interaction piece as well. And Promenade's awesome too when I get to that. Herald of the Orange Light is awesome in this deck actually because it lets you negate a monster effect and destroy it by pitching it from your hand along with a fairy monster. And if you notice, a good portion of our Madolches are fairies. These are fairies, and these are fairies, as well as other copies of itself and Artifact Lancia, which is actually why we're playing 3 Lancia. Not only does this pair well against almost everything in the format, it also is a fairy to pitch to Herald of the Orange Light. So really awesome, really, really incredible card here. We don't play a ton of hand traps in Madolche because we do have to have none in our graveyard in order for Petting Cessor to work, but we also have combo lines that allow us to combo if we do use a hand trap on our opponent's turn. So we just kind of keep it a little low. Lancia is the main one we'll be using on our opponent's turn, but it's also a pitch to Herald, which is a huge plus, and this is what we're going to be using on our turn to get through generally Nibiru's, but also Ash Blossoms and everything in between. So Really good. Pot of Prosperity. This card is one of the best reasons to be on the deck right now. It boosted the deck a ton. It's really good. If you're playing on a budget, because the rest of this deck is actually pretty affordable outside of this card, which is like $100. It's crazy. You can play Pot of Extravagance. It's what I was playing in the old build before this card dropped. It works reasonably well as a replacement. You're obviously going to lose a bit of percentage points, but it works reasonably well. The fact that this can dig 6 for any starter or for your extenders like Madolche Salon, or for your combo protection like Herald of Orange Light, it's just phenomenal. Like, I mean, we don't need to talk about this card too much, but it helps this deck a ton. Cosmic Cyclone is awesome in the format right now. It can work as interaction on the opponent's turn. It can actually disrupt a lot of decks. Like, it can stop like World Legacy Guard Dragon. It can stop Magical Meltdown. It can stop Lost World. There's just a ton of combo. Fire Formation, Tenki, and all the Eldritch cards too. So it can stop a ton of things from the popular meta decks, as well as be an out to just like all the generic back row stuff. The cards like Ice Dragon's Prison can be a real pain for this deck to chew through, so just having outs to the back row is really nice. And the fact that this can be worked on either player's turn, either as a proactive disruption or as reactive disruption, is really strong. It can also get you away from like getting Shadow windowed from invoked Shadow by getting rid of the Shadow Schism in the same chain. So really good. Called by the Grave is Called by the Grave. We can have some issues with Ash Blossom and stuff, so just having the Saki one of is very nice. We'd play more if we could, obviously. Madolche Salon is absolutely bonkers. If you haven't played Madolche, or you haven't played it in a long time, maybe you're a returning player and you were looking for a Madolche deck profile, this card is absolutely insane. This is one of the best cards the deck could have possibly asked for. It gives you an additional normal summon once per turn of a Madolche monster, and once per turn when a Madolche monster is shuffled back into your deck or put back into your hand, you get to search your deck for a Madolche spell trap and set it on the field. So not only does this enable as an extender, so if your opponent disrupts your first play, you can normal summon and get a continued play and continue comboing. It also gives you extension on the opponent's turn, and it gives you the ability to extend on your own turn, assuming you're going to be finding something like a Madolche Chateau or a Madolche Ticket, which can then be activated as soon as you set it. Absolutely bonkers good card. Yeah, this is kind of the thing that's holding the whole deck together at this point in the game. You don't need it to combo, which is excellent, and a great mark above a deck like ABC that needs Union Hanger to combo. This is just, it helps it a ton if you draw it, but you can still play if you don't draw it. It's awesome. Madolche Ticket is an extender. Chateau is an extender, as well as a combo piece and your biggest grind tool, because it lets you put your Madolches back into your hand rather than shuffling them into the deck. So if the opponent is destroying them, you can just put them back and try to recombo the same turn or just on the next turn. Infinite Impermanence is our other hand trap here. This card is really, really, really good for Madolche specifically, because it's not a monster that goes to the graveyard, so you can continue to summon Petting Cessor even if you use it on your opponent's turn. Although oftentimes in this format, as long as I'm not against like a Dragon Link or something, if it's like a Shaddoll or something like that, I'll often use this on my own turn, just to blank, like the window they put out or whatever. And it's also very good just to set. It's Impermanence. I don't have to talk about it too much. Promenade is insane. This card is like the best interaction piece, one of the best ones in the game. You can target a Madolche monster you control, or in your graveyard, put it back into your hand and negate the effects of a face-up card on the field. This can even negate, like a normal spell or a normal trap that's trying to resolve, because it negates the effect on the field. It's absolutely crazy. So you get a card back and disrupt the opponent. This helps you not lose to things like Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched going first. It stops Dark Ruler no more, which otherwise would just completely hose your board. It's really good, and it even has an additional effect where you can banish it from your graveyard and select a Madolche Exceed monster you control, and put a Madolche monster from your deck, hand, or graveyard under it as material, so you can re-up your cards with a Pudding Cess to turn them into Chocolate a la Modes again, and just continue to combo like that. It's incredibly good grind tool, and you can also... This self-triggers Madolche Salon on the opponent's turn as well, so you can loop these as long as you have a Salon in play, because you can grab one, you can use one and then grab the other, and then on your turn you can use it again to disrupt the opponent, whatever lock piece they have on you, and go off. Incredible. Madolche Knights is the main card I'm pretty iffy on in the main deck, if I'm being honest. I had an extra slot. I wasn't really sure what to use it on. So this could be a lot of things. This could be like I've considered like Harpy's Feather Duster. I've considered Pankratops. I like this card a little bit because for your optimal combo where you start with a Madolche Salon and a Magiline or 2 normal summons, you can set this card up and it works incredibly well to help disrupt the opponent. It's absolutely backbreaking if it works, but it's also the deadest card in the entire world if it's not set up. So you could go either way on this. I've also considered using Gravedigger's Trap Hole in this slot because you do have a line going first if you have a Traptrix Rafflesia in your extra deck, because you can go, if you open with specifically Magiline and Salon, you can go Magiline, tutor Magiline, play Salon, play Magiline, grab your Petting Cessor, and then overlay these for Rafflesia, and then you can play through Nibiru through the entire turn and just do your normal combo that way. So that's another thing you can do. I'm just trying Madolche Knights for the high roll. Solemn Strike looks a little out of place, but this card's really nice because of the deck's ability to recombo consistently. If your opponent disrupts you to the point where you cannot continue to combo, you can just set up your back row, your Solemn Strikes, your Promenades, your Impermanences, your Cosmic Cyclones and whatnot, and this card's an incredibly good tool at just stopping the opponent cold at very specific points in their combo, as well as protecting your board from a Nibiru if you had to just kind of do a little Drago action. This card's just really good. I call it when you have to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh with the opponent. This is an awesome card to have. And just having 2's really just, it's been a good number. I wouldn't really consider going up to 3. The extra deck's really standard. You have to play 3 of each of the Madolche monsters because they are your best ones, and because Petting Cessor locks you into Madolche once you've resolved her. Like I said, you can go with Rafflesia and Gravedigger's Trap Hole over this for that very specific line I talked about, and it is very nice when you get to do that. And you're not Xeno-locked before you special summon this, so you can go into Rafflesia with that specific line without Xeno-locking yourself. But otherwise, you just need 3 of all of these, and that's also why Pot of Extravagance is fine in this deck, because you just play 3 of everything anyway. Glass Souffle is like a double DD Crow with slightly awkward timing because you do have to resolve. You can't DD Crow in the same chain as your opponent's Monster Reborn or something, but you can just use it to get rid of 2 cards in the opponent's graveyard. You have to have some pretty good timing and knowledge of what the opponent's deck is trying to do to play this effectively, but it's incredibly strong. It also can quick effect attach to give one of your monsters immunity to monster effects for the duration of the turn. This card's absolutely incredible for going first. Protects your board as well as disrupts the opponent quite heavily in a lot of matchups. It's awesome. Tiramisu is your board breaker for going second, or for when you go first, disrupt the opponent, then you go into Tiramisu, clean up whatever they have left, and then just go for game. This card's also not once per turn. You can do this. It's not a hard once per turn, rather. So you can do this per copy that you can summon, so you can often do this twice. Clean up the opponent's entire board, put them both into Chocolate a la Modes, and Bob's your uncle. You're just going to dead them. Chocolate a la Mode is your combo extender. You have to have a Pudding Cess under her for her to be most useful in order to special summon, but that's what our deck is trying to do, is put her into play. The rest of the extra deck is kind of up to you. I've seen some people play Zeus, and Zeus is good, because you do have lines where you can go into a 4 material Zeus with a Chocolate a la Mode if you're desperate, but you don't use these in 95% of your situations, but I do like the Nightmares to help you get out of a lot of spots for that 5% radius that you can find yourself in. And Ausa is really nice for against Zodiac and other decks where you can enable the Earth, because you can grab one of their Earth monsters and then go into Nightmare Unicorn and just make a 2 material Nightmare Unicorn, which is really nice. But this could very easily be a Zeus or this or whatever. So you can do whatever you want with these extra slots. It doesn't really matter. Rafflesia, again, could be a good option. Side deck, it's pretty straightforward. We've got Nibiru, we've got Phantasme. These guys are just awesome, and they're kind of BFFs right now because Phantasme can enable Nibiru. And Phantasme is really cool because if you manage to resolve it, you can put Pudding Cess back in your deck, which is awesome. I have Ashes in the side because there's just not really room in the main. Lancia gets the pass because it's very effective against the meta in general, and also can pitch to Herald, so it boosts your Herald hits. Ash I like to side in when I'm going second, usually over the Solemn Strikes, and then we just have a couple of extra going second tools with Godarla gets the nod over Gamma Seal just because of Bird Up, so you can get rid of the barrier statue in a pinch. And then Pancratops is just an awesome going second card. I pretty much always side one of these. Same with Red Reboot and Harpy's Feather Duster, clear out those back rows, and Dark Ruler no more is the board breaker. You go second, you bring in the Dark Ruler no mores, assuming you draw one, you go Dark Ruler no more, then you go into a couple of Tiara Musus, clean up their board, Bob's your mother's brother, doesn't even matter, you can't OTK because they're not going to have anything left. So yeah, that's the deck profile, guys. Stay tuned for the next portion where I'm going to go over some of the basic combos for the deck. The deck can have incredibly wide combo permeation depending on the cards you open with, but I can give you some combos to start you out with if you are new to the deck or returning and want to learn some of the newer combos, so stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back. This is going to be the combo section for you guys. Just before we get into it, just want to remind you guys, if you're new to the channel, you like what you're seeing so far, or you want to see some more Yu-Gi-Oh content, some more Dragon Ball Super content down the road, we've got metagame analysis, deck profiles, gameplays, all the stuff you could possibly want. My cat's playing around in the blinds behind me here, sorry about that. Feel free to hit the subscribe button, and it helps us out a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the combos here. So this is going to be your basic bread and butter combo to start. This is going to be your one-card starter using Petting Cessor. Every other combo is going to be built on this specific combo. All of your other starters, their main job is to special summon a Petting Cessor. So we're just going to start with Petting Cessor alone and see where that gets us here. So this will be, like I said, very basic. Once you start getting into the different permeations of the combo, it can get rather complex depending on the kinds of cards you have in your hand and the ways your opponent is interacting with you, but we'll just start with the bread and butter right here. So first we're going to activate Petting Cessor, special summon her, activate Petting Cessor, and search her deck for Madolche Pudding Cess. So this reduces Pudding Cess's level by 1, which allows you to overlay for a rank 4 Exceed. Moving on, we got go into Glass Souffle. So this is important. So we're going to activate Glass Souffle, targeting itself, which we're going to do to get a Madolche into the graveyard for later. But we're not going to trigger Madolche Glass Souffle's second effect yet. We're going to save that for later because we want this to stay in the graveyard. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and overlay rank up into Madolche Pudding Cess Chocolate a la mode. Then we're going to activate her, targeting the Petting Cessor in the graveyard. And then we will shuffle it back in, obviously, and then that'll trigger her second effects to then detach Glass Souffle. You want to make sure you detach Glass Souffle and not Pudding Cess, because she only activates if she has a Pudding Cess under her, so you want to make sure that Pudding Cess stays under her as long as possible. So then we'll go ahead and trigger. We're going to find an Angeli. Angeli will go ahead and activate, and then search our deck for a Hoot Cake. We'll put the Hoot Cake in defense mode because it can't be destroyed by battle. If we end up getting disrupted to a point where, say this is our end board or whatever, we can have the Hoot Cake to defend our life points at the very least, and we can try again next turn. We need to find the Angeli anyway to make sure we have a monster in our graveyard for a later step. So then we're going to go ahead and activate Hoot Cake. We're going to remove the Glass Souffle. This is important because this does not get shuffled back into the deck to trigger our Pudding Cess yet again. So then we're going to go ahead and grab a Messengelado. Now that we have a Beast in play, then we can trigger him. Go ahead and grab a Chateau. Now this is where the combos can start to deviate a lot, depending on how you opened and what is left in the rest of your hand. Because like I said, this is a one-card combo so far. Once you start teetering up with Messengelado is when things can start getting really wild. But this is going to be the very, very bare minimum way to go about things, assuming you have nothing else, like 4 traps, say, in your hand. So go ahead and activate Chateau. Chateau's going to shuffle Angeli back in the deck. Now, this is why we left Angeli in there instead of Glass Souffle, so it can get shuffled back into the deck, not the extra deck, which then Pudding Cess Chocolate a la mode sees, then we can remove Pudding Cess, special summon another Messengelado. We still have a Beast in play, so we can go ahead and grab another Spell Trap. We're just going to grab Salon for this example combo here. Activate Salon. If we had another monster to normal summon, we could go ahead and do that. Overlay for another Glass Souffle, so we have that to interact on the opponent's turn. Then we're going to link off Hoot Cake and Pudding Cess for Fresh Sistart. So this is important because now Glass Souffle, we didn't trigger her earlier, and now she sees the 2 Madolches left play, so she's going to go ahead and trigger and try to put cards back into our deck. We can then do a replacement effect and put them back into our hand with Madolche Chateau, so then we get these cards back for later. And we trigger Madolche Salon. So Madolche Salon will go ahead and grab us a Madolche Promenade, and that's our very basic bare bones combo. It leaves us with a double DD Crow with an effect, a monster effect protection built in, a Madolche Salon to start triggering to loop our Promenades, a Promenade to negate whatever their big play is, and a Fresh Sistart who is incredibly sticky, no pun intended, and she's very difficult to get rid of, especially because we're going to start keeping Madolches in our graveyard using Glass Souffle. She protects our face-up spell traps as well, as long as she's pointing to Glass Souffle. So, yeah, that's combo number 1. Okay, here's another one to kind of get you guys going here. So this is a combo starting with Madolche Mageline. That can be our starter here. She's really cool because she counts as both a starter and an extender, assuming that she resolves because she lives in play and is an extra body with which to make Exceed and Link summons with. So let's see how we go about this combo here. So we're going to go ahead and summon her, trigger. Now we're going to grab Petting Cessor. If I already had a Petting Cessor in my hand and say this was just like bait for like Ash, because sometimes people will Ash this, I'll instead grab an Angeli usually because it can pitch to Herald of the Orange Light, and it's our best way to recombo on the next turn if our turn gets disrupted and we have to end early. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to special summon Petting Cessor, and we're going to start doing the same exact thing as last time. We're going to go into Pudding Cess, then we're going to overlay for Glass Souffle. We're going to go ahead and leave the Petting Cessor in play because she's a fairy, which is a more important type to trigger our other effects down the road, like Madolche Ticket and Madolche Salon. So then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to target the Petting Cessor with the Glass Souffle instead, because the Glass Souffle is going away anyway, and that way if we get Nibiru later on in the combo, we can at least keep our Petting Cessor to defend our life points with. Go ahead and overlay for Chocolate a la Mode, and then this is going to look pretty familiar here. Activate, shuffle back in, grab a Hoot Cake. I accidentally grabbed a Hoot Cake in this example. You're supposed to technically grab an Angeli and then turn the Hoot Cake into the Angeli into a Hoot Cake to make it immune to battle in case we get disrupted, but bear with me. It's a long combo. I didn't want to have to re-record it. So then we're just going to grab Angeli instead. It's easy. If you do this and mess up, it's easy to fix. You just grab Angeli with the Hoot Cake first. Angeli, and then grab a Messengelato. Now Messengelato is going to grab a Chateau, just like last time. Alright, so now Chateau is going to shuffle in our Angeli, and then we're going to trigger our Chocolate a la Mode. This is going to go ahead and grab another Messengelato. Now Messengelato is going to grab Madolche Salon, just like last time. Again, these steps here, once you start doing Messengelato and stuff, can really change depending on if you opened with Salon and if you have other stuff in your hand. But we'll continue on here. Overlay for Glass Souffle, and we leave one of these Messengelatos in play for later. So then we go ahead and link off Messengelato and Chocolate a la Mode now that she's expended all of her Exceeds. And then we go into Fresh Sistart, just like last time. Then we can trigger our Glass Souffle. Glass Souffle will add these cards back to our hand. Now Madolche Salon sees we got rid of something, and we can go ahead and set a Madolche Promenade. So that gives us an extra Hoot Cake in play, which would be immune to battle if I wasn't dumb when I set up my combo. And then it's just the same kind of combo there. Again, the Salon then lets you go ahead and you can normal summon again if you hadn't normal summoned yet, because you can then do that and then go into a Fresh Sistart. Now you have 2 Sistarts instead of 1, and some more material to pitch for them. So that's kind of a permeation depending on if you have a Mageline and nothing else. Alright guys, got another combo here for you. This is for if you had to use a hand trap on the opponent's turn, or if you already have stuff in your graveyard, say you went first, already tried to combo, they stopped you or whatever. This is a way to combo off with Petting Cessor, even if you have a monster in your graveyard. This requires you opening with either Hoot Cake or an Angeli to tutor the Hoot Cake. For simplicity's sake, I started with the Hoot Cake in hand, but either one qualifies. So there's 5 starters that allow you to go off from this position, or if you open with Mageline and a Salon, Mageline can grab one of those pieces, and then you can normal summon them as your second normal summon, and continue to play from there. But for now, we'll start with the most simple way, the bread and butter way to go through this combo. So we have a Lancia set up in our graveyard because we disrupted the opponent, and now we're going to go ahead and continue our combo. So we're going to go ahead and Madolche Hoot Cake. Hoot Cake can go ahead and remove that card from our graveyard. Now we can special summon Petting Cessor. Petting Cessor triggers off of any special summon, not just its own, which is important to note. Go ahead and grab Pudding Cess, Glass Souffle, and it's the same exact combo as last time. It's just with a little bit of permeation with a Hoot Cake already in play. So as you can see, go ahead and drop that, grab an Angeli, because we haven't used Angeli yet. Obviously, if you started with Angeli, you don't grab Angeli at this point, and instead just go straight into the Messengelato. Messengelato, go ahead and tutor up, because we have Hoot Cake in play. We got a Chateau. Chateau, shuffle back in the Angeli and the Glass Souffle, Chocolate a la mode, drop Pudding Cess, summon Messengelato, grab a Madolche Salon, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing as last time here. Link off for a fresh Sistar, trigger, put our cards back in our hand. This is important too, because if we have Herald of the Orange Light, it lets us have a piece for that. And then trigger Salon, grab Promenade, and yeah, that's the way you do it from with a hand trap in the graveyard. All right, guys, this is going to be the last combo for you. This is what I'm going to call the full combo. This is assuming the last couple combos we're assuming you had nothing but a starter. This one is going to assume you have some extenders to go along with your starter, and we can see just exactly where the board ends up. So let's go ahead and start. I'm starting with a Madolche Salon and a Madolche Magellan, because this is just kind of best case scenario. But again, once you practice around with the deck a little bit, you can kind of start to see the ways to combo, depending on if you only open with one or the other. So I'm going to go ahead and start this with a Madolche Salon. I usually like to start with the Salon rather than straight with the Magellan, because on the off chance they like Cyframe Gear Gamma it, then you get a proc off of your Salon, because that does destroy, which is kind of cool. So we're going to go ahead and Magellan. I started with a Petting Cessor in hand, but this was just kind of an example as any Madolche. This can be any Madolche in your hand. If you already have Petting Cessor in your hand, like I mentioned in the last combo, you should really grab Angeli, because it can be a way to... It can be your second normal summon, and you can continue to combo that way if they disrupt you early. It's a pitch for Herald, and it also can be a... It's really useful for recombo. It's the most useful card for recomboing on the next turn. So just something to keep in mind. I did kind of mess that up a little bit on the replay here. But we're just going to assume this is any old Madolche. So we'll go ahead and summon Petting Cessor with her effect. Petting Cessor, grab Pudding Cess, bread and butter stuff. Overlay for Glass Souffle, just like the previous combo. Go into that. Target the Petting Cessor, just in case. Even if they Nibiru us at this point, because they want to deny us the summon with a Pudding Cess Chocolate a la mode, we can then just normal summon this, because this will stay in play. It's not affected by monster effects, and then go into Glass Souffle, and then we still at least have a Salon and a Glass Souffle in play, plus whatever else we had in our hand. So, something important to note there if they try to Nibiru right at that step. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle the Magellan back into our deck. Salon triggers and Chocolate a la mode triggers. So something to note here is that Messengelato does miss the timing if he is not the last thing summoned in, so... with these mandatory effects, they can sometimes mess you up. Just make sure you're sequencing correctly to make sure that you don't miss your triggers on those. So we're going to go ahead and grab an Angeli, and then we're going to set a Chateau. Angeli, we're going to go ahead and do the normal thing. Grab a Hoot Cake in defense mode, then activate Hoot Cake, remove Glass Souffle, special summon Messengelato. Messengelato is going to go ahead and grab a Madolche Ticket this time. Ticket's like our big boy extender for when we're doing really well. Shuffle back in with Chateau, trigger, Chocolate a la mode. So note, I'm doing this before I activate Ticket, specifically so that I can make sure I don't miss the timing off of Gelato, because Ticket does trigger first. Now I'm going to go ahead and use Messengelato, grab a Madolche Promenade, activate Madolche Ticket now that we've expended all of the Chocolate a la modes. Overlay for Glass Souffle. Now we're going to link off for Fresh Sistart, just like in that old combo, but notice we have a little bit of extra sauce in play right now. So we're going to trigger Glass Souffle, shuffle those cards back, and leave the Pudding Cess in the in the graveyard, for this card later on. Activate Ticket. Special summon Messengelato again, because we just put it back in the deck with Glass Souffle. Make sure you don't put it back into your hand when prompted with Chateau. Now Messengelato is going to grab us our Madolche Knights. Now we're going to normal summon our last Madolche we had in our hand, and then we can set these two. This can turn into whatever you want. Generally, you're going to overlay for another Glass Souffle or something else, or you can just leave them in play. The main important thing is to make sure you don't link them off at this point if you want to use Madolche Knights, because the plan at this point is going to be to Promenade something early, pick up the Pudding Cess, trigger Ticket, and then special summon a Petting Cessor again from our deck, and then summon the Pudding Cess from our hand, and then that leaves us with no monsters in the graveyard and a Pudding Cess in play to get full use out of Madolche Knight. So that's the main thing you want to do, but you can kind of do whatever you want with these extra bodies here. You don't even have to normal summon this if you don't want to. The other option when doing that Magiline opening too was to just grab another Magiline to then set up your hand again later for next turn using the Madolche Salon. So yeah, thanks for checking out the combos, guys, and I'll see you in the next section. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for checking out those combos. Hopefully they were informative. If you have any questions on some of the different routes you can take, some of the ways to make your boards a little more stable, some of the best ways to interact with your opponent, any questions at all, hit us up in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you guys. If maybe I messed up some of those combos. I'm not a Madolche expert by any means. I'm just an enthusiast who has picked up the deck the last couple of months and feel like they have a pretty good grasp on the deck. But this list has been doing incredibly well for me. It's just awesome. It's really fun. Like I said, you can go through and just kind of goldfish it, as well as just play against a lot of different opponents, and you can see that it has legs. It takes a good amount of practice, so you'll have to don't get discouraged if the first 5 to 10 games don't go super well. It takes some practice to start seeing some of the weirder lines you can take, especially depending on the different ways you open. But it's definitely a cool deck to try out. Konami also seems to love the deck. They print support for it all the time. We've keep getting more and more support. Like Salon and Sistart aren't that old, and it's obviously pretty safe from the ban list. Knock on wood, right? Yeah, thanks for checking out the profile, guys. Make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and we're going to be putting more Yu-Gi-Oh content on the channel shortly. Yeah, thanks for checking us out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.